The night my neighbor knocked on my door, I thought it would be a normal conversation. Maybe about a package delivered to the wrong apartment or a noisy pipe in the building. But what she told me that night completely changed the way I looked at life, relationships, and the silent struggles people hide behind closed doors. I almost didn't open the door, and if I hadn't, I would have never heard the story that would stay with me forever. I had lived in that small apartment building for almost 3 years. It wasn't fancy, but it was peaceful. The kind of place where people nodded politely in the hallway but rarely stopped to talk. My life was simple: work during the day, quiet dinners at night, and weekends spent catching up on sleep. Across the hall lived my neighbor, Dr. Elena Ramirez. I didn't know much about her except that she was a gynecologist. She worked long hours at the city hospital and often came home late at night looking exhausted but composed. She always wore simple clothes, carried a leather bag, and had this calm presence that made people instinctively trust her. We exchanged polite greetings in the hallway for months. "Long day?" I would ask. She would smile slightly. "They usually are." That was the extent of our conversations. Until one rainy evening, everything changed. I had just finished dinner when I heard a gentle knock on my door. When I opened it, Dr. Ramirez stood there looking more tired than I had ever seen her. Her hair was slightly messy, and there was something heavy in her eyes. "Hi," she said softly. "I'm sorry to bother you, but can I sit for a moment?" Something about her voice made me step aside immediately. "Of course." She walked in slowly and sat on the edge of the couch like someone carrying an invisible weight on her shoulders. For a moment she didn't say anything. Then she looked at me and asked something unexpected. "Do you believe people carry secrets that slowly break them inside?" The question caught me off guard. "I guess everyone has something they don't talk about." She nodded slowly. "I see it every day." I waited quietly. She clasped her hands together and took a deep breath. "I'm a gynecologist," she said, though I already knew. "People think my job is just medical, but it's much more than that. Women sit in my office and tell me things they haven't told anyone. Not their husbands, not their families, sometimes not even themselves." Her voice softened. "I hear stories of fear, shame, pain, and courage." The rain tapped gently against the window as she continued. "Today something happened that I can't stop thinking about." She leaned back slightly and stared at the ceiling. "A young woman came to see me. She couldn't have been more than 22. I felt a strange tension in the room. She was shaking when she sat down. She kept apologizing for crying even before she said a single word. "What happened?" I asked quietly. Dr. Ramirez sighed. She thought her life was over. The young woman had discovered she was pregnant. But that wasn't the real problem. She had no support. Her boyfriend had disappeared the moment he heard the news. Her parents were strict and would likely disown her. She felt trapped, alone, and terrified. Dr. Ramirez told me how the girl kept repeating the same sentence over and over. "My life is ruined." For a long time, Dr. Ramirez just listened to her. Then she asked the girl a question. "What do you want your life to become?" The girl looked confused. "I don't know." Dr. Ramirez leaned forward. "Your life isn't over. It's just standing at a crossroads." She told the girl that fear makes everything look like the end, but sometimes it's just the beginning of a different path. The girl cried for nearly an hour, but when she finally left the office, something had changed in her eyes. "Hope." Dr. Ramirez paused and looked at me. "But that's not the part that stayed with me." "What was it?" I asked. She looked down at her hands. When she stood up to leave, she hugged me and whispered something. Dr. Ramirez's voice became quieter. She said, "You're the first person who didn't make me feel like I destroyed my life." The room fell silent. Dr. Ramirez looked tired, but there was warmth in her expression now. "You know something?" she said. "What?" "In my job, I don't just deliver babies." She smiled gently. "Sometimes I help deliver hope." But then her expression turned serious again. "And sometimes I hear stories that break my heart." She stood up and walked slowly toward the window, looking at the rain outside. "There are women who live entire lives feeling invisible. Women who are scared to speak. Women who believe their worth depends on what others think of them." She turned toward me. "And all they need is one person to listen." I realized then that she hadn't come to my apartment just to talk. She came because even people who help others carry heavy things themselves. "Why did you tell me this?" I asked. She gave a small, honest smile. "Because doctors aren't supposed to talk about these things. But sometimes we need someone to remind us that what we do matters." For the first time since she arrived, she looked lighter. Before leaving, she stopped at the door. "You know what I learned today?" "What?" "Kindness is more powerful than advice." Then she added one final sentence that stayed with me long after she left. "You never know when a few words might save someone's life." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how many people around us are quietly fighting battles we never see, and how sometimes the simplest act, listening, caring, or showing compassion, can change someone's entire future. Ever since that night, whenever someone shares a struggle with me, I remember my neighbor's words. You don't need to be a doctor to heal someone. Sometimes all it takes is being human.